Welcome back. As always, if you're joining us now for the first time, I'd recommend you go back to review our previous recordings. So we went through, and Amir Hashem will continue to do so, we went through certain steps that we must take as parents from the point of birth and on, where we tried to nurture our children, we tried to nurture and cultivate the relationship with them and their relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and how through that we can become the ultimate partners, the ultimate Gimel Shutfim Ba'odam, and of course put ourselves and our children on the path of Izdapkes B'Hashem, the Tachlis in this world. But of course, no matter how many scenarios and ideas that we can possibly go through, there is always going to be something, some question, some choice, some decision to make that we won't discuss. There will always be something that is not written in any book or any parenting series, or that we can maybe find in a sefer, or maybe we just don't have the time to go find. What about those times? How does one make decisions in those times in regards to parenting? In regards to parenting, as we discussed, as far as trying to cultivate that relationship. The Sefer HaChinuch in his Akdama goes through the number of the mitzvahs that we have in the Torah, and he discusses at length that there are certain mitzvahs that are not relevant today. There are certain mitzvahs that are relevant today, but it's really up to us if it's going to be relevant to us. For example, when someone has to pay his worker, if you never hire a worker in your life, I guess that mitzvah won't be relevant to you. In other words, there are certain scenarios in life that are relevant to you, certain scenarios that are not. And you can go through and try and think and discuss all the relevant scenarios, but at some point there's going to be something which has not been discussed, as we mentioned. However, says the Sefer HaChinuch and Akdama, there are 6 mitzvahs, 6 obligations that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us in Sinai that are relevant at every given moment. At every moment in life, these mitzvahs are relevant. Something he calls Sheish Mitzvahs Tmidius, the 6 constant mitzvahs. These mitzvahs, as he says them, is lahamin b'Hashem, to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shaloi lahamin l'zulasoi, not to believe in anyone but HaKadosh Baruch Hu, leyachdoi, to believe in the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and make his oneness known in this world, la'ahavoisoi, to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, leyiroisoi, to fear him, his greatness, and understand and realize and internalize his gevura in this world and in all worlds, shaloi laso achem machsheves alev uriyas einayim, not to veer off the path by going after the desires of our hearts and our eyes. Of course, we can go through these mitzvahs at length, but this will have to be in another series maybe one day. But for now, what we see clearly in these 6 mitzvahs, in these 6 constant mitzvahs, is one theme. It's the basis of a relationship between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Believe in him, internalize him, realize it's only him. Realize his oneness in this world. Of course, one cannot create a relationship, a path to Izdapkes B'Hashem when Chas v'Shalom thinking that there is something else to connect to, there is something else to think about. Loving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, realizing that that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is based on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ahava to us, is unlimited and unrestricted giving. And of course, we must return, we must have a kares hatoiv and return that. Liyira oisoi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we discussed in the Makkis in Mitzrayim, it was not just to punish the Mitzrayim, it was to show us his power, his greatness, and we have to internalize that yira in order to get to Izdapkes B'Hashem. And of course, the 6th one, Shaliloso Achem Machshavas Alev Uriyas Anayim, not allowing ourselves to go after the desires of our hearts and our eyes, because of course, when we do that, what we show is we're not just interested in Izdapkes B'Hashem. And of course, unfortunately, at least for myself, I can say we sometimes do go after the desires of our hearts and our eyes, but of course we know HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us tshuva for that. So what we see here is very clear. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I gave you many mitzvahs, I gave you a constant mitzvah of limud Torah, I gave you tefillah, I gave you many paths of connection to building and cultivating the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But whenever you have a question, whenever you have a decision to make, just make sure that it's based on the 6 constant mitzvahs. Just make sure that whatever decision, whatever choice you're going to do, whatever choice you're going to make, it's going to be consistent with the 6 constant mitzvahs. It's going to be consistent with cultivating the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So now let's go back to our question. Sometimes we'll have the decision to make about our children. We'll have a choice to make. What we allow them to do, what we don't allow them to do. How we will behave towards them in certain scenarios. And let's say you get there and you never heard anything about it. Your teacher, you never heard a series about it. You never heard anything about it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the answer. You should ask yourself two questions. Will your decision, will your choice cultivate your relationship with your child? Will it make your relationship with your child grow to a better place? And of course, will that choice cultivate the relationship between your child and HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Whenever we have a decision to make about our children, we must ask ourselves these two questions. Will it cultivate our relationship with our children, and will it cultivate their relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? When we ask ourselves those questions, we will know for certainty that we're doing the right thing. Now, of course, there might be times that there are two good choices. Let's say, for an example, you have two good schools for your children. You don't know. You ask yourself, which will be better for my relationship with my child? Which will be better for the relationship between my child and HaKadosh Baruch Hu? These two schools, they still seem level. They still seem balanced. How do I answer that? Of course, the Torah gave us the answer for that too. The Torah gives away two parashas, where the Torah tells us what Moshe Rabbeinu did an entire day. The entire day, he was the Das Torah for Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael had questions, they came to Moshe. The Torah tells us by the Mekoshesh Eitzim, there was a doubt, there was a question what to punish the Mekoshesh Eitzim with. What happens in the Torah? He's put in jail. The only time someone is put in jail in the Torah. Why? So Moshe can go ask Das Torah. So Moshe can go ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu what to do. The Torah tells us, sometimes you'll still have a doubt, but even when you have a doubt, there is an answer. There is Das Torah. Not because Das Torah is superior, which it is, by the way, but that's not the point. The point is, this is one of the tools of the relationship between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as part of one of the gears, one of the mechanisms of the relationship, is asking questions when we have a doubt. Therefore, as parents, we can try our best and we must do our best, and we must challenge ourselves and ask ourselves, will my decision better the relationship between myself and my child, and will it better the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? But when in doubt, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us another tool, which is called Das Torah. This series is produced by TorahWire.org, sponsored by the DonorsFund.org. For all your charitable giving, open your account today at the DonorsFund.org.